I'm Dr. Orion Taraban, and this is PsycHacks, Better Living Through Psychology. And the topic of today's short talk is an ideal marriage. So this is something that I'm not infrequently asked about. It's like, Orion, can you give an example from popular culture, a book, a movie, a TV show, of a relationship that you feel actually works, that you could hold up as a kind of model for a positive, healthy, functional relationship? You seem kind of down on relationships in general, so what does a good relationship look like? And it's true. I'm often not very optimistic about relationships. They're just so hard to do over the long term. I've seen hundreds of marriages up close, and there hasn't been any that I've seen where I've said to myself, man, I wish I could change places with that guy. Now, I thought about this question a bunch because I want to help people. I want to be able to hold up a model of a good marriage. But there really aren't a lot of good examples in our popular culture. In most of the content produced, which it should be remembered is ultimately for entertainment purposes, the guy is kind of hopeless and dumb and ugly, and the woman is the competent and attractive one. When the relationship works, it kind of works in spite of the guy and because of her efforts. And this is just not how things operate in reality. More competent women do not end up with less competent men. And even when they do, they certainly don't stay with those men, and the relationship is generally pretty unsatisfying until they leave. We know, for instance, that women who out-earn their partners are significantly more likely to file for divorce, and this isn't entirely or even mostly due to male fragility or whatever nonsense explanation is circulating in the popular consciousness. In any case, I've given it some thought, and I was able to identify one marriage represented in our popular culture that I think might be one of the most successful and satisfying. It's probably not what you expect me to say, but here it is. The relationship that I'm willing to hold out as an example of a successful marriage from popular culture is the Addams family. Gomez and Morticia. They figured it out. Let me explain. I'm not suggesting that the outward form of their relationship is what is enviable. Like, I don't want exactly what they have. I don't want to live in a spooky castle with morbid interior design. But I do want what they have. That is, a relationship that is exquisitely and enthusiastically attuned to who they are as individuals. That's why their marriage works. The first thing that's interesting about the Addamses is that Gomez is absolutely the adorer and Morticia is absolutely the adored. But Orion, you've said multiple times on this channel that it's better for the man to be the adored and for the woman to be the adorer. And here in your ideal example, it's the reverse. What gives? Well, what gives is that I stand by my statement in general. In general, it is better for the woman to be the adorer and for the man to be the adored. However, relationships are not formed between generalities. They are formed between specific and unique individuals. And this is precisely my point. Relationships should be custom tailored to the individuals within them, even if this means the actual structure or operation conflicts with general guidance, expectations, or ideal templates. It's not good to be polemic and rigid with respect to your relationship models. Ultimately, it's for the two people in the relationship, and only these two people, to decide what works for them. Like, let's be done collectively with forcing ourselves into Procrustean boxes and start demanding that our boxes fit us instead. So, I already like these two because they demonstrate that unconventional exceptions to the rule can, in fact, flourish and succeed. Now, the second thing I love about Gomez and Morticia is that they are so fucking weird. They are weirdos. And it's not just that they tolerate the other's peculiarities, they love them. They support them. They go all in. Like, we can't imagine Gomez married to some waspy lady in Connecticut. We can't imagine Morticia dating a San Francisco tech bro. Like it just wouldn't work. And that is reflected in the world around the Addams family. Everyone on the outside is looking at them like they're fucking nuts, which they kind of are, but they've embraced their nuttiness to the point that they could care less if the insipid NPCs pretending to be normal understand them. If you appreciate the insights on this channel, I would highly encourage you to get your hands on a copy of my book, The Value of Others. Over the course of 432 pages, I delve deep into my economic model of relationships and explain the behavior of both men and women in the game of mating and dating. I also provide a lot of actionable advice on how to get and keep more of what you want in the sexual marketplace. Once you read The Value of Others, you'll never look at relationships the same way again. Now available in ebook, audiobook, and paperback formats. The links are in the description. Gomez and Morticia have embraced their weirdness, their desires, their lifestyles, their idiosyncrasies, and they built a relationship around that weirdness to strengthen and preserve it. Well done. This is in stark contrast to the monolithic template for how heterosexual marriage is supposed to look, which, according to its success rate, is failing people left and right. When 2 billion people are dreaming the same dream, that's not their dream. That's their programming. And their heads have been so full of programming for so long that, in many cases, they've forgotten how to dream for themselves. But not Gomez and Morticia, which is why I love what they have. What they exemplify is the idea that in order to really flourish in a relationship, you have to abandon that programming and dream for yourself. Figure out who you really are, not who you think you are, not who you want to be, not who you think you should be, but who you really are, and begin to date from that place. And keep searching until you find someone who doesn't just tolerate you, though, to be honest, tolerance is preferable to the critical and judgmental relationships that many people find themselves in, but who thinks that what you are is fucking awesome, and vice versa. Put your individualities first and build your relationships around a complementary functional dynamic. Another thing I love about Gomez and Morticia's marriage is that they play games with each other. Constantly, like all the fucking time they are playing with each other. People say things like, I don't want to play games with my relationship. Oh, a real relationship takes work, etc. And this is terrible advice. Think of what the vast majority of people do the moment they get off work. They play games. That's what they'd rather be doing. All kinds of games, video games, romance games, crossword puzzles, spectator sports, gambling, conversational games, etc., etc. A great deal of our pleasure and satisfaction in life comes from game playing. It's like, yeah, relationships take work, and they become work the moment you stop playing. Now, I don't mean that Gomez and Morticia play games competitively. That is, games in which one person wins and the other person loses. This is typically not great for relationships. Gomez and Morticia play games that they both win. Their games are fun and silly and sexy. They certainly seem like they can't get enough of each other. And I think that has a lot to do with the fact that they are using games to inflame their mutual interest. They're also creative and role flexible. Like, Gomez loves to play this game where he becomes the tango master, and Morticia loves to play along. Because she knows where this is going, they're going to end up in the bedroom for yet another round of strengthening their relationship. Never stop playing with your partner. Just play with them in a way in which you both win. This cultivates a lively, engaging energy that will keep your relationship and your bedroom alive. So that's what I love about the Addamses. They're so fully themselves that they don't give a fuck about what anyone else thinks. They're obviously straight, but they're kind of queer, in the sense that they have decided to deviate significantly from the cultural template held out to them with respect to how their marriage is supposed to look. And they raise children in this context, and they stay together over time, while their neighbors are probably trying to keep it together over the dinner table and getting divorced. Figure out who you are. Stop making compromises of your individuality for the sake of another person's happiness. Embrace your weirdness and build your relationships around what actually works, not what is supposed to work. And understand that you cannot do this with anyone. Gomez needs a Morticia. Morticia needs a Gomez. Neither one of them would be able to make it work with a normie. But how normal are you really? I think that people, if they're really honest with themselves, are weirder than they give themselves credit for, and they could lean into that a little bit more. So that's what I have for you. Gomez and Morticia Addams. Unlikely candidates for a model marriage, but I think I've laid out a compelling argument for why that might be the case. What do you think? Does this fit with your own experience? Let me know in the comments below. And please, send this episode to someone who you think might benefit from its message. I know you know someone, because it's word of mouth referrals like this that really help to make the channel grow. You can also join my free weekly newsletter or book a paid one-on-one consultation with me on my website. There's also my book, The Value of Others, in which I lay out my economic framework for relationships, and my member community, The Captain's Quarters, in which I host live bi-monthly group consultation calls and Q&As with invited guests. The links to everything are in the description below. Check it out. A lot of great value there. As always, I appreciate your support, and thank you for listening.